everyone, this is Ashley at confectioneryhouse.com and welcome to 2 Minute Tuesday, where I'll show you a cake or candy making trick that'll take you under 2 minutes to do. Today I'm going to show you how to make a wafer paper flower. If you've never made wafer paper flowers before, this is super easy, especially because we're doing a rolled ribbon rose, which is, in my opinion, the easiest of the wafer paper flowers to make. And all you need to get started is some wafer paper, a pair of standard craft scissors, and you can use piping gel in any color you'd like. It's normally recommended to use clear piping gel, but I was able to use colored piping gel and I got this really pretty pastel color to my flowers by doing that. You'll also need some candy brushes. I recommend these brushes over a standard paintbrush because they have plastic bristles that won't break off. So let's get started. All right, so the first step to making your wafer paper roses is to cut a square from your wafer paper. Cut the corners off to form a circle. Now the bigger your circle, the larger your wafer paper rose will be. Also, you'll have more petals if you go larger with your circle. Looks good. So just like that. And set your scraps aside. You could cut this into like 2 more squares and make some smaller wafer paper flowers if you wanted to. This way you're not wasting. And now that you have this squarish circle wafer paper, you're going to start to cut your spiral out. And you're going to start on the outside. So you'll start to cut a spiral. And try to keep the width of your spiral the same as you go around. It's going to be a little hard, but you just don't want it to start to get thin as you cut some areas. Doesn't have to be perfect, just keep cutting. If you end up having like a weird angle like this, you can just round it right off. And keep cutting, and you'll end it with a tiny little spiral end. And once you have your spiral, take notice of the textured side and the smooth side. If you've never worked with wafer paper before, one side is kind of dimply and textured, and the other side is more smooth. On the textured side, you'll be painting your piping gel. So lay a piece of parchment paper down onto your workspace just to protect it, because we are going to be painting piping gel onto our spiral. And what the piping gel does is it acts like a glue so that your wafer paper rose will stick together so that it doesn't just unwind on you. It also makes the wafer paper a little more pliable because wafer paper is more on the brittle side. So it'll keep it from tearing. And start painting your spiral. Be pretty generous with it. Can I do this in under 2 minutes? This is probably the part that takes the longest. You don't have to rush with this. The piping gel doesn't dry very quickly, so you have plenty of time. You don't want to gob it on. You don't want it to be really goopy. But you do want to make sure that every edge gets covered. And you want it to be pretty even too. Painting is kind of relaxing and therapeutic, so this is kind of the fun part. So I lied. This is 3 Minute Tuesday. 3 minutes. Just to paint the wafer paper. Also, the less piping gel you use, the faster this flower is going to dry. So we're all painted. Now, you want to take the little tail on the end here and just cut it right off. And put this aside because you're going to need it. Now, take the outer end and fold it so that the piping gel is on the inside. And just start roll it into itself. Now, while you're rolling, you want to make sure that this end part right here, that this stays level with your finger. So this, not so much. You don't have to worry about the top as much as you have to worry about the bottom. And the bottom should fall on the inside of your spiral. So the bottom part of your rose is going to be on the inside of the spiral. The top is going to be on the outside of the spiral. Start to roll this. Don't worry about rolling it too tight. Just worry about keeping the bottom part level to your finger. There's no right or wrong way to make these. Now, if you're rolling and your paper is starting to fold right here, that can cause the wafer paper to rip. So you might need to switch hands. but at first it's gonna feel awkward. The top will start to kind of fan out like a cone. That's fine, that's your petals forming. And if you need to tighten it up, you can always back off and roll it back out. Now you'll notice one side is getting a little bit bigger than the other side. So I'll show you how to fix that after. If your wafer paper starts to rip, just add a little bit of piping gel and just stick it right down to the rose. You won't see it, especially if it's on the inside. Keep that bottom level still. And as you get to the end, this little awkward piece right here, you just kind of have to work around and then put a little, so you'll have it, it'll kind of end like this. Put a little extra piping gel right on the bottom and stick that right down on top. So right down. And that will be your base. So kind of hold this in place at the bottom and use your paintbrush, just kind of slide it right inside of a petal and you can kind of pull it out that way. So just go around and pull out the side that is a little more tucked in, and that'll help you to even things out a little bit. I'm painting a little more piping gel on so that these petals on the side here stick down a little better. And you can play around with this rose as much as you want. If you're like me, you'll spend hours just trying to get the petals perfect. And now you have this adorable wafer paper rose that you can put on your cakes and your cupcakes. But lastly, if you look at it, I mean, it looks beautiful, but there's that little hollow circle in the center. And to fill that in, we're going to take the tail that we cut off earlier, and we're just going to roll it, just like we did the rose. You don't want it to be bigger than the inside of your circle. So if it starts to get to the point where you think it's gonna be too big to fit in the center, just kind of cut the extra right off. Paint some extra piping gel on the end. Stick it right through the center of your rose. You want to hold the bottom like that, and that just fills in the very center. And now you have this beautiful wafer paper rose, and you can put these on the sides of a wedding cake. They're a lot more stable than a gum paste or fondant rose, so you don't have to worry about them wilting in the summertime for those summer wedding cakes that you have. And they're really pretty. They're a lot more fragile looking and delicate, and they're just overall really pretty, and they're easy to make. So if you've ever been intimidated or scared to make an edible flower, whether it be from buttercream or fondant or gum paste, I know that you can make these. So give it a try. If you do give it a try, please tag us at Confectionery House on Facebook and Instagram and show us what you've made. We can't wait to see.